It's been a little while, but I'm back. Hello, I love you. Patrice here with another episode of Into the Nothing. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for being here. If you're new to Into the Nothing, welcome, welcome. Please, if you enjoy this conversation, please share it with anyone you think would benefit, your friends, your family, your colleagues. Just know that I am so deeply grateful when you share it with those that you think would get something out of it. And yeah, it's been a little while since I've done an episode, and today is a Sunday, and I've set today aside to do content. I am at the moment putting a lot of time and love and energy and having a ball on my YouTube, particularly with my shorts at the moment. Yeah, I'm just pouring a lot of love into YouTube. So if you are listening to this somewhere other than YouTube and you would like to follow more of this kind of information of setting yourself free from within, your inner temple, understanding your thoughts, your emotions, the nature of reality, letting go, spaciousness, simplicity. Then come and follow me over on YouTube. And if you're not already subscribed, please do so. Let's get into this episode. So, this episode today is called No Shoes in the Temple. And I know I did a part one of my trip to India in January already. You can go and check that out. It's just a few episodes ago. This is kind of like part two. And I want to talk about something that I realized, and I think it'll be really helpful for you if you want to have more space within, if you want to be more magnetic, if you want to turn up your ability to magnetize and to manifest and attract what it is that you desire. I think this episode will be really, really helpful for you. Now, my last episode, when I talked about, India, a couple of episodes ago. A little context. In January, I was asked to go and help facilitate a women's immersion and retreat in India. It was 2.5 weeks. I was over there. I think the immersion went for about 10 days or 2 weeks. And I was helping facilitate that experience with a woman that I used to be mentored by, Rebecca Thompson, who I have many episodes with of Into the Nothing. You can go and check those out if you please. I will link some of those below if you want to check them out after listening and watching this. And I was asked by her to go and facilitate because I was mentored by her for a few years, and then she asked me wonderfully if I could start supporting the women in her program that she runs here, or that she did run in Queensland. Now, a big part of her message is feminine embodiment, understanding our body, our emotions, our thoughts. So it's understanding ourselves on lots of levels: spiritually, energetically, emotionally, mentally, physically. And I learned a lot from being in her world for 4 years. She had a program running that was a mastery program of understanding ourselves, and I did that for 4 years. So I feel very grateful for that. I finished up doing that program and supporting in that program after India, because after going to India, things started to feel really clear for me as to where I needed to put my energy. And yeah, just things fall away and things change. That's such a big part of why I started this podcast called Into the Nothing. If you listen to my earlier episodes, still to this day, I'm incredibly fascinated with the concept of letting things go. Letting go, for example, in my life, in my last 7 years, I've let go of really drinking coffee, let go of alcohol for the most part, let go of using fake tan. I let go of having a phone for 10 months. I let go of using makeup for nearly a year. I've done water fasts where I let go of eating food for 3 days. And I just find the process so unbelievably fascinating that every time I seem to let something go, somehow I feel fuller. And then when I come back to that thing in my life, whether it's food or fake tan or my phone or coffee or alcohol, I'm coming back to it with a real position of choice, of like being deliberate with it. Like, do I actually want it, rather than being in autopilot or becoming dependent on it to feel a certain way? So I really love that. Really love discovering the power within. And yeah, it was just time to let go. It became really clear to let go of a few things when I came back from India, and that process was beautiful, of course, gorgeous. I love Rebecca Thompson so much. She has offered me more than I could ever imagine. But yeah, Rebecca Thompson invited me to go and support on this trip to India in January with a group of 9 women. And yeah, it was really about being immersed in India because India is definitely a whole lot of medicine in itself. It is so different to how we live or how I live here in Australia, in Brisbane, that's for sure. And I love that. There's something actually that I know now within me that just yearns for that cultural difference. I love seeing how people live differently to me in Australia. I love seeing different complexions. I love hearing different languages. I love smelling different food cooking. I love seeing different outfits, different religions. I love watching even how people eat food, like chopsticks or with their hands, or different to using a knife and fork here in Australia. Like, I just have such a thirst for that variety on this planet. And so India definitely 100% offers such a vast array of differences to how I live. So I love it. I'd been to India once before, about 10, 12 years before I studied in India, back in my big creative designer days. And yeah, so India. So if you want to listen to or watch, because it is on YouTube if you're listening, this podcast, or if you want to listen to that episode, part one, India, it's linked. It's linked, baby, underneath. And if you're watching the video right now, I've got it linked on the screen. It had some really nice traction, which was so wonderful. So now I want to talk about no shoes in the temple. So we went to a temple complex, an ashram called the Golden Temple, for a few days. I actually forget right now how long we went for. I think it was a week. It was under a week. And in that time, when you entered into the temple complex, you were not to have your phone, which I loved. Again, letting something go, space away from phone, and you couldn't wear shoes. Thousands of people enter this temple complex every single day. Hundreds. I think there's 1,000. It's a lot. It's a lot. And thousands every week, that's for sure. And no one's wearing shoes, which I just love. That in itself feels clean to me. I think that's so beautiful. And actually, early in the India trip, we went to some temples, some really old temples in a different part of India. And when the English first arrived in India, they walked all through it with their shoes. And then the local people, the local Hindu people, like, we can't actually go and be in the temple anymore. It's lost it's lost that special essence that makes it so pure and clean. Now people have walked through it with shoes. And so, and then now it's just a tourist site because it can't be the same religious special place because the English walk through with shoes. Now I love this. And so over the week that we were there, no shoes in the temple. So no shoes and no phone, which I loved. I love being without my phone. So good. And it just really started to show up for me, like how good it feels to obviously have your shoes off, but then also how pure you start to feel with your shoes off and no phone. Like, it just starts to feel wonderful. And then knowing that everyone else is doing the same. There's something really beautiful about that. And so on one of the last days we were in the temple, drink of water. One of the last days we were in the temple, we were watching a ceremony for the energy of Ganesha, which I'll put on the screen right now. And he was in this little temple. This guy was playing this drum this bell right near my head, and it was so fucking loud. And it was really making me come into my center, like come in with this inside myself and choose what I wanted to focus on, because I could have easily just got really caught up and really frustrated and really annoyed at how loud this bell was. But it was one of those moments where which I've been practicing for a couple of years now through meditation, knowing that meditation is about becoming familiar with ourselves. What's going on inside? Not good, not bad, not right, not wrong, but what's going on. And so in that moment, I had a choice, or in those moments, in that whole time of being in this ceremony, first thing in the morning, this Ganesha puja. No, was it a puja? Yes, it was. If you don't know what puja is, please go and listen to the other episode, India one. It's an incredible ceremony that I got to watch many, many times when we were at this ashram. And I had a choice to choose what I focused on, to choose complaining within myself that this noise was so loud, to choose like just being caught up in the discomfort and the pain, or to choose just going deeply within and just keep relaxing and just finding my center and being with that. And, miraculously, every single time when I just relaxed, I just could be with it. It was totally fine. It's really interesting to practice this. As I said, I have been practicing this meditation and this really focused level of meditation. Actually, now, because it is June 2024, I've been doing it super diligently since June 2022. I remember vividly when I decided I'm going all in, particularly on some Dr. Joe Dispenza meditations, particularly on two. One is called Blessing of the Energy Center, #1. And a second one is Love the Life You Love. But really, the months leading up to going to India, I just intuitively was guided. It was quite crazy. I was meditating for hours a day. From June 2002, I was doing at least really 2 hours a day and kind of an hour in the morning, an hour at night. But the months leading up to it, I was just sitting in my fucking stuff. Like it's not pleasant. I really want to make this clear. Like, you might have heard the phrase, be still and know. Becoming still when life is so full and frantic, and particularly in this Western world where we're so caught in our minds and we're so distracted and we fill every second with our phone. And if you work with me, I'm such a big advocate for time away from phone. It's not just because just have time away from your phone because it's healthy for you. There's so much magic that happens when you're still inside. And when we're so bombarded by information all the time, we don't realize how that is really impacting us. It is making us so distracted. The level of magnetism we can have when we are still and calm within is fucking crazy. The shit that turns up, the stuff that just miraculously just pops in, the smoothness to which things can unfold in our everyday, where things can feel hard and clunky, the stillness within creates so much magic in our everyday. That's why I'm such a big advocate for it. But to get to that place where we're still within, when we've had years, maybe decades, where things have been frantic, chaotic, where we've been not feeling all of our emotions and they're just kind of suppressed and stuck, it's going, and our mind's going at 1,000,000 miles an hour thinking about all the different things, like where there's no stillness, it's going to take you sitting in an incredible amount of discomfort to experience it. And guess what? You can do it. I don't want to sugarcoat, go, oh my God, it's all peace and bliss. No, for so much of my meditating in the last 2 years, the majority of it has felt like the biggest grind of so many moments of sitting there having, blissful moments and crying 100%. But a lot of it was just sitting in so much tension, so much discomfort, so many times that I stopped the meditation and just went on my phone for a bit because it was so uncomfortable. And then I took myself back on. And then there were times where I just sit there and could be 40 minutes or 30 minutes were just like, I felt like I was just sitting in like a power surge of discomfort. And then there'd be a bit of peace. I'm like, oh, for like the last 10 seconds. And obviously it's getting better. And now I'm 2 years in, I'm sitting in a beautiful amount of presence, not always perfect, but I don't expect it to be. And when there's less resistance to the tension, guess what? It amalgamates, it integrates, it dissolves, you start to feel whole. the level of focus in that I've taught myself and that you can teach yourself through meditation to focus on what you want to focus on, to bring the mind back every single time it starts to think about someone or think about something you got to do in your meditation, to be still and keep bringing it back. And then also practicing allowing your mind to fully drift and knowing that you're not your mind. There's lots of nuances and there's lots of art forms within this. It's a mastery, but you can do it if you want it. So, sitting in this ceremony with this Ganesha, this big, I think it was bronze Ganesha in front of us, and I'm putting a picture on the screen now if you don't know what Ganesha looks like. This elephant head. And I was just sitting there, and in my focus, I kept bringing myself back to my center, not being distracted and being really caught up with the fucking loud bell that was literally like it was like ringing in my brain. Kept bringing myself back to my center, kept breathing, kept relaxing, kept choosing what I wanted to focus on and what I wanted to put my attention on in that moment, kept being caught up in it, kept bringing myself back, kept being caught up in it, kept bringing myself back. This is what we need to do, right? Keep choosing, build the muscle. And then the bell stopped, obviously, at a certain point, and the ceremony unfolded with a beautiful priest that comes out and does all these rituals with the bronze Ganesha. I'm pretty sure it was bronze or copper. Again, if you want to head back to part 1 of India, because there I really talk about how everything in this ashram was so intentional and so specific. Every metal, every symbol, every sound, everything, every flower they use in the ceremonies, every ingredient that they use to pour on the statues in these ceremonies, it's all so specific, deliberate, intentional, focused to harness energies and let these metals and materials hold and resonate and embody a certain energy, and you feel it like you feel it. Anyway, sitting there in this ceremony in the morning on one of our last days, and I just heard the words. It was really lightly inside of me. It's like, no shoes in the temple. And I was just like, whoa, that feels like there's some story in that. And what the story is for me and what I wanted to share with you: no shoes in our temple, in our inner temple. Now, what does that mean? So if we think about in a physical sense, like in a physical temple, shoes coming in with all sorts of grime and dirt on them, impurities, letting anything in, and the difference in choosing and setting the standard and the rule, no shoes in the temple, bare feet, bare human feet only, no shoes, no one. And then I reflect what that could mean inside of ourselves and what that can create. Of not thinking and not looping and not letting shoes in our internal world. And by shoes in, I mean thoughts, stories, narratives that aren't what we want to be thinking. Now, will this take grit? Will this take understanding our emotions? Will this take discipline? Will this take focus? Will this take discomfort to create this within ourselves? Yes. Will there be times that it will just feel so hard? Yes. Will we have to train the muscle within us to be able to focus on what we want to focus on? Yes. No shoes in your temple. Choosing what's happening within you. Choosing your state. Choosing your frequency. Choosing your feelings. And with all of this, the grace of feeling the feelings in our body that aren't the feelings maybe we want to feel, but knowing that when we allow them, we feel them, we be with them. Like loving mama to a baby, nurturing, holding the baby, like being with the baby no matter what. And knowing that that integrates, knowing that that makes us feel whole and complete and still. It's not from rejecting emotions like anxiety and anger and moodiness and anger, jealousy, discomfort, disappointment, sadness, worry, disgust, anger. feeling putrid, whatever it is, it's about ourselves, about someone else, or about a thing that's happening in the world. It's about feeling it in our body, noticing where it is in in our physical body. Is it in my heart that I can feel this? Is it in my tummy? Can I feel it all over? Can I feel it in my shoulders? Can I feel it in my knee? Can I feel it in my hip? Can I feel it in my heart and my shoulder? And starting to bring presence to a loving presence and knowing that that alchemizes the sensation. We dive really deep into this concept and into this practice in an episode with a guy called, it's an episode with a man who has a YouTube channel called Reborn with Michael Watson. And I'm pretty sure it's the episode just before this, if you want to check it out. But we dive really deep into this practice. But doing that creates peace. And we can't, and I'm just going to go for it here with you. I'm just going to know that this is just going to land for you in the way that it needs to land and make sense. And if it doesn't, drop me a comment, drop me a question underneath. Like, let's go into this. Let's help set ourselves free. I'm loving what the lighting's doing here right now from the sun that's setting on this beautiful Sunday afternoon in Brisbane. By the way, total side note tangent. The weather in Brisbane in this winter and this autumn is sensational. If you are from another country and you want to come somewhere for our winter, come to Queensland. It is bliss. Anyway, side note. So, no shoes in the temple. No shoes inside of ourselves. Creating a space inside of ourselves where we're actually feeling what we want to feel and thinking what we want to think. And knowing that our thoughts and our feelings are inextricably linked. And when we start to welcome feelings in our body, we will start to notice we will think different thoughts because we don't realize how much we can't think greater than how we feel. I'm going to repeat this for you. We can't think greater than how we feel. We can't just do mindset work on top of a whole bunch of emotions and feelings that are feeding and releasing themselves in thoughts that could be crazy negative thoughts about your partner, about your workplace, about yourself, could be super negative, super anxious thoughts. And you could just be trying to do mindset work, but you could release so many thoughts, like 1,000 thoughts that's caught up in one emotion by you actually feeling it in your body. And if you need support to do this, you can book in with me. Go and see the link down below. You can book in for 4 sessions because 1 session's not enough. We need to go 4 sessions together. And you can start to set yourself free and learn tools and techniques and tips that you can then use for the rest of your life. I'm not here so you can be dependent on any other person. It's for you to have magnificent tools for you to use whenever you want. Now, this makes you incredibly magnetic when you start to feel that peace inside, no matter what. When I'm not attached to outcomes, when I'm not attached to people outside of me, when I'm not attached to things going in a certain way, and I can be in a certain state no matter what, do you know how fucking powerful you become when you get into that place? And you can do it because we all have it inside of us. Not one person is any better or more powerful than the other. Can you cultivate this magnificent ability within you? Yes, you can. And again, if you want support to do that, hit the link down below and come on, let's go. Let's do this. So, no shoes in the temple. Knowing inside of us that our thoughts and our feelings can be way more deliberate. We don't have to be so swayed. We don't have to get caught up in every thought. Thoughts are options. They're not facts. Thoughts are options. They're not facts. Now, I'm not saying you need to completely wipe yourself clean and clear in the next 24 hours. It doesn't work like that. It's a process like anything, but yeah, you can do it. And the question I want to ask you to ask yourself is, what am I practicing in any given moment when no one knows what you're thinking but you? What are you practicing? Because those thoughts are creating your reality. And not just through like, oh, this thought makes me then act in a certain way. It's not just like that. Your literal thoughts create reality. Your thought forms create physical forms, like literally. Literally. We don't just have to take action to create, can literally think and something can be created. people can bring things to you like, oh, I love a milkshake. And your partner or your sister or whatever might be like, hey, I'm going to make a milkshake. And you're going to be like, what? Like, I know that you've had those times. You can live in a state of that. Relax, receive. What are you practicing internally to create the life that you want to live? Because you can have all the money in the world and still be so anxious and worried that you're going to lose it. I've done that. I've done that so much. I've had so much money come into my world and still be so anxious about money. Like I look back and I'm like, whoa, that's so fascinating to me. You could be in a wonderful relationship and not even know it because you're so caught up in your own stuff. I've been that too. You could get clear within and then realize that relationship isn't actually for you, and you can walk away and do it with so much grace for yourself and that other person. But you've got to create it within. You've got to stop looking out there. We've got to look within. No shoes in the temple. What are you cleaning up? What are you letting go of? Yes, in your physical life. What shoes are you not letting into your temple anymore in your physical life? Maybe it is coffee. Maybe it is fake tan. Maybe it is social media for a while. Maybe it is a water fast that you go and see a professional and get support in actually integrating that to be able to do a water fast. Seek a professional to help you do this properly. I'm not a water fast expert. I'm not a nutritionist. Yes, do the physical things, clean up your home, all those things, but literally think about what is your mental diet? What are you watching? What podcasts are you listening to? This stuff matters more than you realize. We just get used to being so fucking chaotic and full and dense inside. And it becomes so painful, and we think that pain's just normal and that we just have to live in this place where it's just like no shoes in your temple. What thoughts are you thinking that aren't in alignment with what you want? You can't say you want heaps of money and then just be stuck in scarcity the whole time. And again, I know that place really well. So if you want help with your internal world, if this feels discombobulating, if this feels confusing, then again, hit me up. If you want mentoring and coaching support to feel clean and clear, to be that magnetic person that you're meant to be. I often think like far out, like back in those tribal times and they didn't have all of these distractions and all this stuff. How magnetic would they have been when there wasn't so much stuff interfering in their frequency? No shoes in your temple. What are you going to start releasing? The first place to start is, can you become aware of yourself? Like meditation literally means to become familiar with. Can you start to become familiar with yourself? And part of that process might be being really uncomfortable with what's going on inside of you. And if it becomes so uncomfortable, get help. See a therapist, see me, see a doctor, do whatever, but start to come within. Unlock yourself from within. Your reality is a reflection of what's going on inside of you unconsciously and consciously. And you can untether yourself from things that aren't feeling smooth, wonderful, and creamy. No shoes in your temple. Think about it. I love you. Thank you so much for coming back to Into the Nothing, or welcome if you haven't been here before. Again, please share this with anyone that you think would benefit. Please subscribe. And of course, I'll see you in my next episode. In the meantime, come and follow me over on my YouTube channel. I love you. Thank you so much. And no shoes in the temple.